So now we are going to start with the adrenal cortex. This image is going to be very important because almost similar image was given in one of the examination and they marked and they asked what is the answer and they have marked this one. So that is why you need to remember this image so you can understand there are two parts of the adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Cortex is outer, medulla is inner. And medulla is for catecholamine, epinephrine and norepinephrine. The blue colored cells you can see is in the medulla, and cortex is divided into three: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata and zona reticularis. So it's very popular way to remember. It is GFR. GFR. Zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata and zona reticularis. And zona glomerulosa is secreting aldosterone. And the biggest among these three are zona fasciculata. You can see, you will not forget, cortisol and androgens. And also reticularis. Reticularis is mainly for androgen. Which androgen? It is dihydroepiandrosterone. So zona fasciculata is cortisol, zona reticularis is secreting androgen. Is this clear? Both are written together. Now dihydroepiandrosterone can be converted into testosterone, then into estrogen. So GFR, aldosterone, cortisol and sex hormone. So we can say it is salt hormone, salt, sugar and sex. Outermost is salt, sugar and sex. Okay. So this is about the structural of adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Innermost is for only epinephrine and norepinephrine, the catecholamines. Now I'll ask you, among all these layers, of course you know the adrenal cortex is controlled by ACTH from pituitary gland. ACTH is controlling adrenal cortex, but out of these three, G, F and R, which is the only layer that is not controlled by ACTH. Okay, answer will be zona glomerulosa. It is not controlled by ACTH. So it is releasing what? Aldosterone. So aldosterone is not in control of pituitary gland. That is why they asked in one of the examination that if there is a removal of pituitary gland, which hormone need not be supplemented? Of course, you will supplement those hormones which are released by pituitary gland. So in the condition of pituitary adenoma removal, okay, because the surgery transspheroidal removal of the pituitary, you have to supplement with the hormones. So which is the only hormone among the list? They will give you the list, and the answer will be aldosterone, because zona glomerulosa, the outer layer, okay, this is not in control of ACTH. This is a very important question. Is this clear, doctor? Now, sometimes they ask you, if you cut adrenal cortex, which layer can form other two layer? And again, answer will be zona glomerulosa. This can generate fasciculata also and reticularis also. And sometimes they ask you, out of this three layer, which is thickest, you can see zona fasciculata. It is fatty. It is not fatty, actually, just to remember. I hope this much is clear, doctor. Aldosterone we have covered in detail in kidney. We have discussed the function of aldosterone. Just me recap. Aldosterone causes activation of what? Various channels and proteins, and causes reabsorption of sodium, secretion of potassium. Then we have discussed they were working at the level of nucleus because they are steroid hormones. Then we have discussed the primary rise in aldosterone is called as Cone syndrome. In Cone syndrome, we had hypertension. There was a hypertension, and because of increase in the aldosterone, there was suppression of the RAS. So renin was less, and patient was having hypertension, and this was treated by aldosterone antagonist, and that was spironolactone. Then we have discussed that aldosterone is working on which channel? ENaC, epithelial sodium channel. It was activating ENaC. Through the activation of ENaC, sodium was absorbed, water was absorbed, but there was no edema again. There we discussed it was called as aldosterone escape, because equal amount of ANP, atrial natriuretic polypeptide, will be secreted and we will lose the water. So even though there is an excess of aldosterone, we will not have edema. It is called as aldosterone escape. Then we have discussed ENaC, gain of mutation. It was called as Liddle syndrome. In the Liddle syndrome also, there will be more and more sodium absorption, more and more water absorption. So in the Liddle, just like in the Cone syndrome, we will have hypertension. Okay, but because there is increase in the sodium, so ultimately aldosterone will be suppressed. So aldosterone will be less. So Liddle syndrome and Cone syndrome both will be presenting like hypertension. But Liddle is different. In Liddle, aldosterone is less. That is why, if you remember, there we have discussed, it is also called as pseudo hyperaldosteronism. Although aldosterone is not high, it is less. Because of the suppression, aldosterone was less. And there we have given the drug ENaC blocker amiloride. So this is all we have discussed. So aldosterone, which is the most potent stimulus of aldosterone, it is potassium. Then it was hypovolemia. If BP is less, it will secrete aldosterone so that it can absorb sodium. But most potent is hyperkalemia, because if you remember general physiology again, I want to indicate again, hyperkalemia was decreasing the RMP. So it was causing accommodation. It was damaging voltage gated sodium channel. So action potential will not come and heart can stop. Arrhythmia will be there. So hyperkalemia is very dangerous. So as there is rise in potassium, immediately who will come? Aldosterone, so that it can secrete potassium, isn't it? And if you remember in the Barter and in the Gentleman, there was secondary aldosterone rise because of loss of sodium. Okay, so these all just amalgamation. See, keep on revising whatever we studied. Otherwise, you will keep on forgetting. So keep on integrating. Whenever one name came, I just say aldosterone. Whatever you know about aldosterone, please speak out. Only by the speaking, only by listening, only by discussing, this will be in your reflex and that will be helpful for examination. Otherwise, routinely you are studying without revising, okay, that will not be helpful. So bring more and more reflex, and this can be when you are actively involved. This is not that we are discussing adrenal cortex, so we will not discuss RMP, we will not discuss cardio. We must integrate the topic, because in the exam, their option will be integrated. Question will be not like only for kidney question, no. Question will be integrated. On the one hand, they will give you Bain-Briggs reflex, they will give Bijol gyrus and Cushing and J receptor. So all are from different system. So you must be thorough. You must have clear-cut concept. You must have thorough knowledge about each and every concept. Is this clear, doctor? So we have discussed in detail about aldosterone and kidney. I have recapped once again. Now let us start discussion of cortisol. Some very important function. Cortisol is 1,000 times more in quantity than aldosterone, mineralocorticoids. So cortisol is 1,000 times more than aldosterone. Point number one. Point number two, cortisol has equal affinity to mineralocorticoid receptor. So cortisol can bind with aldosterone, and it is even more. So why we are not saying that cortisol can absorb sodium like aldosterone? Why it is not absorbing sodium normally? Answer is that it does not act on the principal cell of collecting duct, P cell, or simply principal cell of collecting duct, because it is inhibited by 11B hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. Because it is inhibited by 11 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. So although there is so much of cortisol, although it has equal affinity like aldosterone, so why it is not absorbing the sodium? Because as it reaches principal cell, it is inhibited. How? By 11 beta hydroxide 11 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. But now comes clinical relevant point. In Cushing disease, when cortisol is in excess, it cannot be inhibited now. Now this inhibition will be failed. It is in so much quantity in Cushing disease, and now it start behaving like aldosterone. And that is why, doctor, in Cushing disease also, there is more sodium absorption that can lead to hypertension and edema. So this is the answer why there is hypertension and edema even in Cushing disease? Answer will be because here cortisol is in so much excess that it cannot be inhibited by 11 beta hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase. It start acting on the principal cell, behaving like aldosterone, reabsorbing sodium, and that will cause increase in the blood pressure. I hope this concept is clear. Now, next point, what are the function? Insulin is the only hypoglycemic hormone. Glucagon, cortisol, growth hormone, thyroid, they all are hyperglycemic. So this is also hyperglycemic. And that is why sometimes in Cushing disease, because of excess cortisol, there is increase in the blood sugar level, and that is called as adrenal diabetes. Adrenal diabetes. And cortisol is catabolic to the protein. It is catabolic to the protein, not anabolic. Like growth hormone was anabolic. Again, I am comparing. So when you compare, you will understand. Growth hormone was anabolic. IGF was anabolic. Both were having the same action. But here, it is catabolic to protein. But it is also lipolytic. It is dissolving the fat like growth hormone. Somewhat like growth hormone, but not like growth hormone. If it is lipolytic, why in Cushing disease patients are obese? The reason is that although they will dissolve the fat, but they will mobilize all the fat from periphery to center. From periphery to the center. So fat will be mobilized in the center and patient can have a hump over the back, and that is called as buffalo hump. Thinning of the skin and centripetal obesity. So this is the important concept, doctor, that all fat will be moving from periphery to the center. Now, sir, please tell me why it is given as in an autoimmune disorder, or whenever you want to suppress the immunity, how? So they will ask you how they are going to suppress the immunity. Answer is going to be, it suppresses immunity by inhibiting phospholipase A2. Phospholipase A2. So it is going to suppress immunity by inhibiting what? Phospholipase A2. Now, some blood cells are increased, some blood cells are decreased. So what are the increase? Increase in eosinophil, lymphocytes, and basophil. So eosinophil, lymphocytes, and basophil, they will increase and they will decrease, and increase will be in neutrophil, platelet, monocyte, and red blood cells. So some cells are decreased, some cells are increased. So what are the cells that are going to be decreased? Eosinophil, lymphocyte, basophil. Okay, so eosinopenia, basopenia, lymphocytopenia, they will decrease, and neutrophilia, okay, thrombocytophilia, monocytosis, and erythrocyte. So this all will increase. So they have different actions on different cells of the blood. Cortisol. Now they have permissive role. What is permissive role? Like a catalytic. For example, we have discussed in endocrine in some other chapter, leptin, main function was leptin of the fat. Leptin is from fat, main function is to decrease the hunger. What is the main function? To decrease hunger. But it has some other role. It has some permissive role to initiate the puberty. It is an extra role. Main function is not that. Similarly, it has permissive role like catecholamine. Catecholamine is called in lipolysis, bronchodilation, and pressure effect. So all these action of catecholamine will be enhanced by cortisol. So sometimes they will ask you why cortisols are given in asthma, or why cortisols are behaving like catecholamines. Examples are, the best example will be asthma, of course. The reason is that cortisols have permissive role for catecholamine in causing bronchodilation, lipolysis, and pressure response. Pressure response. Okay, it is having chalogenic action of glucagon. Now in the CNS, if suppose that for asthma or what, if you have written, sometimes you have to write a steroid also, so you must have seen that there is alteration of mood. There might be some depression, there might be some, you are not feeling good. So by taking a steroid, they can alter the mood and behavior and increase the appetite. In CVS, what is the role of cortisol? It increases cardiac output. It also increases peripheral vascular resistance. In the kidney, it can increase GFR, increases excretion of calcium, but decreases ADH. Bone, It is not good for bone. It can cause osteoporosis by activating osteoclast. How steroid causes osteoporosis? By activating osteoclast. In the GIT, it increases gastric acid secretion, it decreases calcium absorption, it increases GI mucosal epithelial cell proliferation, and the reproductive system, it decreases GnRH. I hope this is clear. Now, Cushing syndrome and Cushing disease. Cushing syndrome simply means there is excess of cortisol. Simply means there is excess of cortisol. It can be due to either pituitary cause or adrenal cause. If Cushing syndrome is due to increase in the ACTH, it can be ectopic. There are some cancers in the lung and there are various organs which are releasing ACTH, ACTH secreting some tumor, or pituitary adenoma. It is Cushing disease. So increased ACTH can be due to pituitary adenoma or due to ectopic release in some tumor. So these are the part of Cushing syndrome, and if it is because of pituitary adenoma, it is called as Cushing disease. And if cortisol is more because of the adrenal gland, it can be due to adrenal adenoma, it can be due to adrenal carcinoma, or iatrogenic also. Someone is giving cortisol from outside due to some disease. There are various diseases in which the indication is to give cortisol. So in all those conditions, ACTH level will be decreased. So both are Cushing syndrome. But because of the negative feedback mechanism, cortisol will suppress the ACTH level by negative feedback. So in all those conditions, ACTH will be less. But in the condition of Cushing disease and ectopic release, ACTH will be high. This is how to differentiate between these two patterns of Cushing syndrome. Now, what are the features of Cushing syndrome? Because of peripheral mobilization of the fat, there will be centripetal obesity, thinning of hair, hairs will be thinned, moon phase, osteoporosis, hypertension, increase in TPR, cardiac output, psychosis, depression, cataract, peptic ulcer, increased glucose, menstrual disorder, myopathy, thinning of skin, purple stria, and pigmentation. This point we have discussed in hypothalamus also. When there is increase in the ACTH, it starts behaving like MSH, causing hyperpigmentation. So in all those conditions, whenever ACTH level is high, there can be hyperpigmentation. Now, Addison disease. Addison was a scientist who removed adrenal cortex, and whatever symptom came, he said this is called as Addison disease. So by this story, you can remember Addison disease is what? Hypofunctioning of adrenal cortex. So it can be autoimmune, it can be tubercular, it can be carcinoma, HIV, or surgical removal. Whatever may be the cause, main thing is that decrease cortisol, decrease aldosterone, and decrease sex corticoid. And because they are decreased, so they will increase ACTH. So don't just think that ACTH is high, it is Cushing, it can be Addison also. So see the clinical features and all other parameters, only then diagnose if it is Addison disease or it is Cushing disease. In Cushing disease, is it Cushing syndrome due to adrenal problem, or it is due to pituitary problem, or due to some cancer which is secreting ACTH. Okay, thank you.